Welcome to this explainer, everyone. Today, we're actually unpacking a seriously fascinating origin story. I mean, we all know the modern titans, right? Toyota, Nissan, but their beginnings, they were incredibly messy, highly inventive, and honestly, shockingly humble. So let's just get right into the surprising roots of Japan's automotive giants.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Section 1, the steam-powered start. So our journey begins way back in 1904. Now, before the sleek sports cars and super efficient EVs we see zooming around today, what do you think powered Japan's very first domestically manufactured bus? It was built by automotive pioneer Toro Yamaba. Take a quick second to guess. Were they using early gasoline? Or maybe was it electricity? No way, it was the steam engine. That's right. The very first domestically manufactured bus in Japan was essentially a giant rolling steam locomotive. Just picture that for a second. It's almost this steampunk-like reality, right? Imagining a massive, steam-powered passenger vehicle just hissing and chugging along the dirt streets of 1904 Japan. It is such a brilliant reminder that every massive technological leap has to start somewhere. And usually, it starts with the wonderfully messy and loud technology of its immediate time.
Let's move on to Section 2, the early innovators.
Now, obviously, steam wasn't going to rule the roads forever. Gasoline quickly enters the picture as all these scattered innovators begin experimenting to see what a motor vehicle could actually be. Just 3 years after that steam bus, in 1907, Komonosuke Uchiyama produced the Takari. And this is huge because it was the very first entirely Japanese-made gasoline engine car. After that breakthrough, things accelerated rapidly. We see the Kunasue hit the scene in 1910, the DAT in 1911, and then the Gorham debuting in 1920. It was just this rapid-fire era of trial, error, and immense mechanical creativity. You know what's really fascinating about this specific era, though? It's the names you probably don't instantly recognize. For example, the Kunasu Automobile Works built the Kunasu in 1910, and then they actually partnered up to make a car aptly named the Tokyo in 1911. Later down the road, from 1924 to 1927, Hakuyosha Iron Works built the Otomo. Now, sure, these aren't exactly household names today, but these forgotten pioneers laid the absolutely vital groundwork for the whole shebang. They proved that domestic manufacturing of complex gasoline vehicles wasn't just some pipe dream, it was entirely possible. Which brings us to Section 3, the birth of modern giants. Eventually, this scattered ecosystem of small, independent makers really began to shift. The whole narrative changed from isolated inventors tinkering in workshops to strategic consolidation. Check this out. Back in 1911, Kaishinsha Motor Car Works began making the DAT. Meanwhile, around 1920, a completely separate company founded by William R. Gorham started building the Gorham and later on the Leela. Two entirely different paths, right? But then, in 1926, they merged to form the DAT Automobile Manufacturing Company. And why does this specific union actually matter to us today? Because that exact company would eventually evolve into the absolute titan we now know as Nissan Motors. Now, if the Nissan origin story shows the immense power of corporate mergers, this next one shows the sheer unpredictability of industrial history. Toyota, arguably the most famous car manufacturer on the planet today, right? Well, they didn't start out making cars at all. Actually, their original focus as a business was manufacturing textiles, literally making fabric. It wasn't until 1936 that Toyota executed a massive, historic pivot and began building automobiles. It just goes to show you that a company's initial focus doesn't always dictate its ultimate legacy. All right, let's wrap things up with Section 4, the true driving forces. To really, truly understand this era, we kind of have to pull back the curtain and look at the underlying economy. Up until now, we've largely focused on passenger cars, but while companies like Toyota and Nissan were focusing their sights on consumer vehicles, future heavyweights like Isuzu, Yanmar, and Daihatsu were carving out a very different path. They all shared the exact same initial focus: diesel engine development. They weren't trying to build the flashiest consumer car, you know? They were strictly focused on the heavy-duty, utility, and raw power of diesel technology. And that heavy-duty focus leads us to a crucial reality of the era. To quote the history books here, most early vehicles, however, were trucks produced under military subsidy. So the point is, despite all the fascinating civilian innovations we just discussed, the steam buses, the early gasoline cars, that incredible textiles pivot,
It was actually military-subsidized trucks that provided the financial backbone. That was the true industrial blueprint, keeping these early factories afloat and functioning behind the scenes.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question to really ponder. The next time you're out and about, look at the cars on the road today. What unexpected industries might they have originally sprouted from? When you see a modern, highly advanced vehicle, remember that its lineage might trace back to a textile loom, a hissing steam-powered bus, or even a subsidized diesel truck. The roots of global industries are surprisingly diverse, and honestly, history is rarely a straight line. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey today, and keep exploring.